Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode here at the Debate Circle. We are in the Nyanza region, and joining us today we have St. Mary's Lwak Girls High School and Ramba Boys High School. Their motion of dissection reads, the Kenyan government should impose stricter regulations on the mushrooming of digital lending services to protect youth from financial exploitation. I'll read the motion of dissection again. The Kenyan government should impose stricter regulations on the mushrooming of digital lending services to protect youth from financial exploitation. All the best to both teams. Team proposition, first speaker, you have 3 minutes.
You are not rewarded for brain, but only for the knowledge in your brain. I, Marion Akinyi, from the great St. Mary's Lwak Girls, I stand firmly to propose the motion that says Kenyan government should impose stricter regulations on mushrooming digital lending services to protect youth from financial exploitation. First of all, you are supposed to ask yourself, what are these financial exploitation? Financial exploitation, according to Collins Dictionary, it states that involves misusing, mishandling of someone's money, property, or assets without their consent. Secondly, the thing that you're supposed to ask yourself, what are these stricter regulations that the government should impose? Stricter regulation refers to the implementation of more stringent rules and standards designed to control and monitor a particular activity or industry more closely. Thirdly, you are supposed to ask yourself, what is this imposed that the government wants to impose? The impose is to force something to be accepted or be put in place. Lastly, digital lending. Digital lending refers to the process of obtaining loans through online platforms, bypassing traditional intermediaries like banks. This leads me to my first point. High default rates. It leads us to high default rates among digital credit borrowers, leading to severe implications for negative listing at credit references of bureau, or you can call it CRBS. According to statistics, many citizens in Kenya have if these stricter regulations are imposed, many of us will succeed in their financial institution when they are protected from this financial exploitation. For instance, you can take these digital lending services like Hustler, Fuliza, Zenka. Most of them are established everywhere now. When there is no strict rule that are imposed on these digital lending services, many of us our money will be at the wastage. For instance, when we deposit money, every day after 1 week, thank you, I rest my case.
Wow. Sweet ambience, craving to be filled with nothing short of the gospel truth. I'm willing. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it is a veracity to divulge that all and sundry exhibit a certain goal to which they aspire, an ultimate crave for the best tomorrow. But how many of these young men who race chariots are willing to open up their cognizance and perceive the changes that are occurring in the present world, which may rather hinder their future? I, Andrew Okello, from the indomitable school of choice, Ramba Nation, I would like to oppose the motion. The government should impose stricter regulations on the mushrooming of digital lending services to protect the youth from financial exploitation. What is mushrooming? Mushrooming simply means rapid growth, whereas digital lending services are essential companies that lend money through websites or online platforms, including mobile apps. Some of the mobile apps which are digital lending services today, we have Tala, Branch, we have the East African digital lender, just to mention but a few. Simultaneously, digital lending is the acquisition of finance through websites or digital platforms. And financial exploitation is the misuse of finance in layman's language. Ladies and gentlemen, imagine a Kenya where young people are not just consumers, but empowered participants in the financial landscape. A landscape where technology is not a villain, but a tool for financial inclusion, fueling the dreams of a boda rider to own his own fleet, or a young farmer to scale her operations. This is the future we can build by... This is the future we can build by fastening and not stifling digital lending. While we all agree on protecting the youth from financial exploitation, the motion before us, imposing stricter regulation on digital lending, might rather be a case of throwing the baby out with bathwater. Therefore, let's delve deeper as learned personnel. Digital lending offers a crucial pathway to financial inclusions for millions of Kenyans youths. Unlike traditional banks with stringent requirements, digital lenders provide access to smaller loans, empowering young people to invest in their future. According to a 2023 report by the World Bank, digital financial inclusion can be a powerful tool to improve the lives of the poor and unbanked, particularly the youth and the women. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll also say that by promoting financial literacy alongside responsible digital lending services, we can equip the youth to navigate this financial landscape effectively instead of stricter regulations, which may rather be punitive. I'll stand on the words of Dr. Raghuram Rajun, the former governor of the Reserve Bank of India, who once cited courageously that overregulation can kill innovation. The youth today, we depend on innovation. It is no longer a word being said. Remember that well done is better than well said. Andre has spoken.
It is always dark until you open your eyes wide enough to see the light. That's why I, Evelyn Achieng, from the Red St. Mary's Lwak, hereby stand firm to propose this motion that states, Kenyan government should impose stricter regulations on mushrooming of digital lending services to protect youth from financial exploitation. I'm going to start by asking a question to my opponent. You talked about something, I can't get it well, but I want to ask a question. There must be deductions. There must be deductions, and we are borrowing, yes, we are borrowing the money. There is deductions. What are we going to do with these deductions? And there is no income. There is no income that the youth are earning. My first point, the loans should be limited. They should be limited. Setting limits on the amounts that can be borrowed based on the borrower's income and repayment capacity should be set. Let's take Mama Linda. No, let's not go far. Let's go to Linda. Linda is just a graduate, having nothing but certificates on the hand. Linda takes the opportunity to go and borrow loans. There must be limits. She doesn't have anything, no finances to do what? To repay back the loan that she is going to do what? To borrow. My second point, high interest rates. There is that fear that will come to Linda. The fear of borrowing high amount, and the rates are also high. There is that fear that will come to Linda. Yeah. Many digital leaders change exorbitant interest rates, which may trap young borrowers in a cycle of debate. Stricter regulation could capture this. So I've given an example of Linda having borrowing, and she doesn't have any income. She only has the certificates on the hand. She doesn't have anything? And how will she repay the loans that she has taken? Think of that. I rest my case.
A correction. The Hustler Fund is actually a government digital learning service. And again, you ask that where the youth going to earn if they have no income. The main reason to why youth actually go to the digital lending services to acquire money from the digital lending services is only to start entrepreneurial services. That goes, as it is stated, by the Federation of Kenya Employers, which states that over 35% of young people actually are unemployed in Kenya. It's outstanding. And some of you here are youths, and you could agree with me. And to my first point. If stricter regulations are given unto the digital learning services, this will hinder financial inclusion. And how will it hinder financial inclusion? Digital learning services actually leveled the playing field, enabling both underbanked and unbanked individuals, small businesses, large businesses, to acquire these loan services. And if this is hindered, and if stricter regulations are given unto them people, this will be hindered, denying all of us, and I say all of us, the right to acquire these loans. Muhammad Yunus emphasizes on the importance of financial inclusion in the uplifting of poverty as a way of making countries have better financial inclusion. Have you ever thought unto the reason why I, Zalmon Mwalaba, still is opposing this motion? It is ironic, and it will continue being ironic, as I do say that a stricter regulation onto the digital lending services will actually affect not only the digital lending services, but also, and I say repeat, also the borrowers themselves. How? This will lead to increase in rates. Now, increased rates, how is this applicable unto this matter? Now, it is very simple. Make the digital lending services, give stricter regulation on the digital lending services, and they'll have to comply. If they comply, they'll have to change the management. This and that being changed, this will lead to compliance cost from one point to another, and compliance cost will become a burden towards the borrowers as, and I repeat, as high rates of interest. It is proven by the International Monetary Fund report on 2044, where they said an increase, a stricter regulation will actually lead to an increase in high rates of repaying back whatever they had borrowed from the digital lending services. And then, in fact, a resolution towards whatever stricter regulations, I do suggest that instead of putting up to stricter regulations, we could go to self-regulation as a way of making the digital lending services effective towards the country and the youth. The name is Zalmo Malaba from Ramba Nation. Thank you.
Can you see that? That's the Vision 2030. And I, Blessing Anita from St. Mary's Lwak Girl, stand firmly to propose the motion that says the Kenyan government will impose stricter regulations on mushrooming digital lending services to protect youth from financial exploitation. On to my first point. Support for vulnerable groups. Regulations could include provisions to protect particularly vulnerable groups, such as students and unemployed groups. According to the Standard Nation, we get to know that on 2015 to 2017, the graduates didn't get employment. They get employment this year. What of the graduates of 2020? Or even the graduates of 2024? Can you think of that? I would like to stress on my second proposal point on high interest rates. Many digital leaders charge expedition interest rates, which can stop young borrowers in a cycle of debt. Stricter regulations could cap these rates, making loans more affordable. My God. The government should impose and introduce rates to protect these citizens. I mean, when you look at these youths right now, they don't have jobs. And that's why we're even getting this protest from the Gen Zs, because they really
focused in their studies and they also got the PhDs and everything, but they never got the chance to get jobs. We should literally look at those points and settle and think the government should impose the high rates of interest. I rest my case.
My colleague here has said that you have stated that the graduates in the year 2015 to 2016 actually were not employed. But with digital lending services, they have an opportunity to actually venture into their business. Thank you. While safeguarding young borrowers, it's a critical concern. It's a critical concern. Actions can be taken in regulation is necessary so as to avoid unnecessary unintended consequences. Digital lending has been a powerful driven of financial inclusion. According to Financial Sector Depending Program Kenya, over 40% of the youth currently are owning a mobile money account. This is largely attributed with the digital lenders. Over stricter regulation will stifle this process, impacting financial excluded youth, since these youths depend on these lending services so as to counter their emergencies and open new business ventures. By fostering a well-regulated environment and equipping young borrowers with financial knowledge, the Kenyan authority can ensure financial security of their youth and empower them to build a brighter future. An example is a student who took computer in high school has come out there to the field, but because the person is not in a position to continue with the studies, how can this digital learning service actually help the person? It will give him or her the capital to actually buy a computer. From that, you can actually teach yourself web scripting. You can do programming. With that idea, since you will venture into this business of programming, you can come even to the debate circle and tell them, I actually have an offer. I can make you a website, then that minimal money that you'll give me will help me. For the profit that the person will have, the person actually will repay the digital lending service, then the rest of the money the person will build on his career, or the person will venture into the business and expound his ideology in the business field. That's part of the examples. Those are parts of the examples. That means by opposing this motion, we can say that these stricter regulations will actually offend the youth. So stand firm and oppose with me. Thank you.
Once there was a wise man that says, it always seems impossible until it is done. That's why I, Evelyn, still stands firmly proposing the motion I say this because it is to enhance our country's development economically, socially, and politically. I rest my case.
The young lad on stage is one person whose mother taught to stand for the right thing. So I'm still tongue-tied why our girls can't open their eyes and side with us. But it's well and good. I want you to remember one thing. Unlike traditional banks, with stringent regulations come requirements, the imposing of stricter regulations on this digital lending offers access to quicker loans, and which can be of help to the youth in case of emergency. A very good example is that somebody is involved in an accident and the person happens to be a youth, is required to pay for the medical bills. He has no employment. What will he opt to? He will opt to accessing loan from this digital lending. So they should not be regulated. And remember one thing, I'll still stand rooted on the ground and not agree with you. So it's upon you to come and side with us. Imposing stricter regulations on digital lending is detrimental to the youth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, both teams, for fronting your arguments. This was a policy motion. So with a policy motion, we expected, for instance, Prop to tell us how exactly should the government impose the stricter regulations, what parameters would we use to measure the success of that, and how exactly the government is going to do that. And then side up, you had three main things to do. Give us the benefits of what these digital lending services have given the youth, and basically you can use numbers, references, and data which is available, and then you can also provide data on where imposition of stricter regulations failed and how else should the government prevent financial youth exploitation. So I'll quickly rush through the speakers. Marion Akinyi, you are a very good, strong voice. There was an attempt to have a stage presence, but then I would love to advise you to ensure for every claim you make, there's a reference to the numbers that you throw around. Providing data on the status quo is one way of cementing your arguments or making the numbers that you give believable. And then I'd also advise you, as you are informed by the moderator, that you have to utilize your time well so you don't quickly jump off the stage immediately the bell is signaled. That means that you need to relook your points and ensure they are well organized. Evelyn Achieng, very good speaker as well, but then I struggled to create the connection on Linda, and at some point I also noticed you are struggling to further the plot of the story that you are giving about Linda. So my advice to you is, before coming here, prepare enough so you don't underutilize time. And as a second speaker, ensure that you always rebut the opposers. Anita Blessing, very good speaker with a confident voice, but then I need you to reduce reading. Once you start reading, people stop believing in what you're saying, because you yourself cannot if you cannot demonstrate you believe in what you're saying by not reading everything, because if you have to read, simply read the topical sentences, then the examples and the statistics are things that should come to demonstrate how you've mastered the content. With the opposers, Andrea Okela, strong voice. I loved the quote on how overregulation can kill innovation. I could feel your stage presence. But then I would love you to provide an example of how the government can, for example, equip the youth with financial literacy skills. How exactly are they going to do that? And maybe a global perspective of governments that have successfully done that. Zalmon Mwalaba, you equally had a very good stage presence. I could feel your voice immediately you came here. There was a sense of confidence in what you're saying. But then equally with you, as a second speaker, you have a burden of rebutting the second proposer. So immediately you come here and you're speaking after the first proposer spoken and the second proposer have spoken, then we expect you to rebut what they're saying. Otherwise, once you exit the stage without engaging with their points, we then tend to believe that you agree with what they said. James Lemuel, very clear voice. I advise you to reduce reading. And as a third speaker, you have the burden of summarizing your team points. That means that once you come here, attempt a rebuttal on what the third proposer has said, and then summarize the arguments that your team has been fronting. That being said, I wish you guys all the best.